Yes, YouTube, I hope that you're good. So today I'm going to be coming in with a little bit of a different one. I don't actually know why I've not done more videos on client retention. I am absolutely fucking obsessed with product, program, client retention and client experience. With my own company, for example, with the Coach Consultant, I built this up to over 7 figures just from results and referrals alone. Without any ads, without any outbound messaging, without anything, literally just actually giving a fuck about clients, actually getting them results, and then basically getting referrals off the back of it. And I know that myself, I'm going to do so many videos on setting and sales and content acquisition, leadership, mindset and problems and all that type of shit. But in reality, most of the time, bottom line, it will come back to how good your actual program is and how good your service is. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a step-by-step walkthrough on 20 different areas that you can focus on within your online coaching and personal training business that will basically improve client retention. It will improve the client experience and then get you to a point where you are having much less stress associated with having to get new clients in the business, because you're keeping the ones that you've got really happy. They are in a position where they are wanting to refer you out. You're getting results, so you've got more social proof, you've got more evidence. And I feel like this is an area that people like almost overlook nowadays because it's all about outbound volume sales. And it's like, how I always say is like, if you are massively and obsessively confident with what your actual offer is, and if you've got a unique program associated with your offer, then your coaching team will have conviction. Your sales team will have conviction. Your setting team will have conviction just off the back of the fact that you've got a really good fucking program or you've got a really good product. When it comes to you with your content creation, when it comes to ads, when it comes to creatives, like this is not just about techniques to how you can improve what you're doing. I always explain to people like, look, this is about like, this is almost like the backbone of your company. If you are absolutely fucking confident as hell with the strength of your backbone in your company, then that level of confidence is going to plow through into every single avenue and every single person within the business. If you are losing clients, if you are not getting great feedback and you're having bad experiences, all that is loads of conflict, loads of operational drag. We want to make sure that the backbone of our company is absolutely, completely and utterly solidified, so that when we put the fancy stuff on top of it, then it just makes the life 10 times easier, basically, guys. So yeah, I'm going to go through 20 steps to improve client retention, because I've not done that many videos. I thought on client retention, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do 20 points. Right, guys, I am literally going to go quick fire straight through this, so this isn't a 30-minute long video. So have your pen and notepad ready, so you're just going to write down what you need to focus on and why it's important. So the first thing that I want you to look at here is splitting this between 50-50, right? So as you'll basically see, I've got program delivery on the left-hand side, and then I've got client experience on the right-hand side. This is going to be very differentiated between the two. So when we're looking at program delivery, what I want you to imagine there is, in essence, what are you actually directly giving to them as part of what they are purchasing, right? When we are coming onto the left-hand side, when we're looking at experience, I want you to basically think about how are they going to feel throughout this process. So what are you going to give to them? And then also, how are they going to feel during the actual experience? Because this is about how you manage, in essence, 2 different metric sets. So I've done previous videos on objective and subjective management. Imagine that this is objective and this is subjective, right? So what targets and structures they're going to do to achieve the goals, and then how they're going to actually feel within that process, right? If you can balance exactly the same when you're looking at maximizing team performance, if you can manage someone to a point where they are objectively and subjectively supported and driven, then you're going to get to a point of having an incredible client who's got a great experience, great result, and loads of referrals, which is what we want. So number 1 is goal setting, right? Whenever any client comes into your company or within your coaching program, the first thing that you need to do is really make it clear in terms of what are they actually working towards. If you do not have goals for that client and they are just joining to have a diet and a training program, then they are in essence working towards nothing. If they are working towards nothing, they will feel unfulfilled, they will feel undervalued, and they will not see value within your service. So we need to make sure that as a starting point, everything is actually working towards that person's goals. From that point, we need to make sure that based on the actual goals that we are setting for that client, we need to actually be looking at progress tracking systems. So that is going to be down to your daily metrics, that's going to be down to your weekly check-in format. And again, this might be basic, but it's going to get more intense later. Next thing from that is program evolution. This is not about having a preset program and improving it. This is about how you actually evolving their program to improve the likelihood and chances of them achieving their goals while improving their progress tracking at the same time. So are you actually manipulating and improving things alongside their actual progress? The next one is clear communication, right? If a client feels like they cannot actually communicate with you, then there's going to be a drop off in terms of the relationship and effort, and basically a to and forth kind of equal and opposite reaction between you and them. Whereas if you are not giving them much clear communication, they are going to give you shit communication back. If you give them great communication, they will give great communication back. If you put great communication together, you can have a great results process. From that point is then looking at milestone rewards, right? So for example, someone's initial goal might be here, and their starting point might be at 1 and their goal's at 100. That means that there's 100 steps for them to get through in order to actually achieve their goal, right? That's a really long time for someone to not get that cathartic release and that kind of positive energy from their coach and their actual journey. I would highly recommend that when you have someone working towards their goals, you have these milestones where you are actually going to come in and celebrate their success. Because if they feel like they are having their success and their milestones rewarded, they are going to be more motivated and inspired to actually get to that kind of next level. The next one is accountability systems. This is not just about having a weekly check-in and a follow-up and a video format. This in essence is like, right, so if we've got a check-in, then we've got a feedback, what other touch points have you got when you are actually supporting a client on a week-to-week basis? So is that them submitting into a community? Is that you basically following up with them after the check-in? What's happening to make sure that there's a clear accountability structure in place? From that point, we're then looking at the actual community group element. So when you get a lot of people together in one place who are all very similar to each other, that's going to create a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration, because they are going to be around like-minded people. Whereas if you have a client base of 20, 30 people and they're not together and they're all individuals, they're not really going to get inspired and motivated, and also have healthy competition with other members within your company. So make sure that you've got something like a Telegram group, a WhatsApp group, or we use School, but as business, obviously. But something what's going to really kind of keep everyone together. The next one is behavior change coaching, right? The reason that I say behavior change coaching is just because you give someone a goal, a progress tracking sheet, and evolving their program does not mean that that's going to adapt their behaviors. If you improve someone's behaviors over time, then they are naturally going to be a hell of a lot more bought into you as a coach and them as a person, because you've enabled them to overcome certain negative kind of things that they're going through in their life, which leads them to being a lot more motivated and inspired. Next one is flexible posting formats, right? So, sorry, not flexible posting formats, we've got flexible coaching formats. So you've got to understand, right, when we've got a client as an example, and this is a great one to do together, the client is not a square robot, right? The client is an actual person and a human being. There will be so many different factors that's affecting that person, which will influence their behaviors, that will influence their actual ability to follow a plan. So you've got to make sure that you are dynamic and you are flexible with your approach, because if you are really static, that's going to get to a point where people are going to resent the process, because in essence it's not manipulating around their life and their circumstances. From that point, it's educational content, right? You cannot expect anyone to ever know what you know. Rule number one when it comes to managing people: people do not know what you know. People do not perceive information in the way that you know it, right? So you need to make sure that you are articulating complex information into educational content that will empower them to get to a point of making their own intuitive decisions, but also see that as a massive value asset, right? So when we're looking, I could have added about another 10 more onto there just with program delivery, because you've got, based on your offer, a unique program design. You've then got your tracking systems associated with your program design, and that's why for me it's so important to make sure that you've got this unique solidified program, because if you've got like a phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's great when it comes to all these areas, because you make sure that you evolve at phase 2. You make sure that when we're looking at milestone rewards, you're actually rewarding someone when they're going to that next phase, and you've got it earned as a preset structure. And that's all off the back of your offer, obviously. Then the next one, we're basically looking at client experience. So the client experience is basically how they are going to feel in this process, right? Because you might have onboarding, right? You might have all these things I'm going to talk about, but how do they actually feel? So important to understand. It's so important to ask people questions. So for example, when you're looking at feedback and reports, ask someone the question, how did you feel during the onboarding process? Is there anywhere that we can improve? It's a simple question, it's a simple conversation, but they might turn around and be like, well, I weren't really sure on X, Y area. If you improve that area, that's going to improve it for every other person who's coming through into the business. Like my company, I swear, like for example, Rob, my COO, his job is to make sure that this shit is fucking 100% perfect at all times. And it's not just perfect, it's improved at all times. So my job within my company, so I'm just going to put as an example for me and Rob, right? I'm going to put, when it comes to program delivery, that's my job. My job is to make sure that my company and my clients have the highest standard strategy systems and SOPs possible out there. When we're coming on to client experience, Rob's job is to make sure that the actual process and everything is moving well, because his job is a chief operating officer, right? So for example, just as a bit of a different perspective to look at it, one is when we're looking at clear points of celebrating success, and not even that, but how are you celebrating success? Are you putting them on a pedestal? Are you posting them on social media? Are you putting them into community groups? Are you talking about it at one of your live events? How are you basically bigging these people up for the milestones that they've achieved, which is getting to a point of achieving the result? And if they're achieving the result, they're building your fucking business for you in terms of referrals and marketing, right? So how are you actually really celebrating that? Thing from that point is actually fast problem solutions, right? So people, when someone's in pain and they're in a problem, right, they want that situation addressing really quickly, right? If they come to you with pain or problem and you can solve it, but it's going to take you 6 months, whereas you could do something what takes 6 weeks, then that's going to be 10 times better, because their value associated is going to be based on the time that their pain and their problem was resolved. Right, into the next one, which is surprises and events. Come in and do some shit what's a little bit different, guys. Like host a walking Zoom out of nowhere. Go and climb up Scarfell Pike or Snowdon or not Everett. I don't know why I'm going to say Everest then. It's just in my head. But go and do something what's really spontaneous and really different, because it breaks the status quo. Clients are in order. They're following all this stuff. Right. Something different. Bring something different in, right? Send them all a shaker. Send them all a logbook. Do something what just celebrates and breaks that status quo and has a surprise or an event, right? Have live events, right? Even if I have clients who are in Australia, in Dubai, in Marbella, and I will get them to have client community events in the UK or wherever they're, or America, wherever it is. And yeah, you might have to fly, you might have to travel, but I can bottom line tell you that the better that your live events are and the more community and culture that you build, the better that your retention's going to be, right? Moving on to the last one, right? Last few here. Humanizing the brand. That for me is the one thing that I've got really in touch with in the last 12 months, and that is the Coach Consultant is my company. Ben Hawksworth is who I am as a person, and I don't need to be someone else. I don't need to be the Coach Consultant. I don't need to be a corporate brand. Since I really focused on humanizing myself and humanizing my content, and you've probably seen that with the YouTubes, like this is literally just me speaking as me. I'm not trying to be someone else. I don't need to be someone else, and it's taken me a long time to get to that point, right? But since I've humanized my brand, my company is grown like substantially, because people trust people. Like if you've got a brand, or if you've got a team, or if you've got a culture which is all based on just professionalism, corporate structure, people are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? We want people to feel settled, we want people to trust you, and most important, we want to make sure that we're actually building connection with these people. We've got client-centered content, right? So you've got a social media page where people think that you are the dog's bollocks, and hopefully you are the dog's bollocks, yeah? I'm not saying that you're not, but in essence, like clients will look at their coaches like they are like the kingpins, like more than likely got a lot more followers than them. They've got presence on social media. They're talking on camera. You might have a little bit more of authority, and people will look up to that. And you know, when you actually talk about them and you celebrate them on social media, people really value that, because you're sharing their story on your platform. Two, basically, I'm gonna do this quickly. Is you've got tech optimization and you've got catch-up calls. If you can't do catch-up calls with a client, get someone else to do it. But there needs to be something where you are continuously and utterly always looking at making sure that you're maintaining connection with these people. Whether that's a call every 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or whatever it is, people need to know that they're working towards that catch-up and something that's a little bit of a connection, yeah? And then finally, if you're using technology like terrible Google Sheets, you've got all these different apps like BFits, you've got like, some of my clients have custom apps that are like £250,000, for example. People have got these apps what are out there for $24.99, and if you've got your technology which is just running on like a shitty Google Sheet what's got no good format and it's difficult for someone to use, they're not going to stay with you. So quick fire. Program delivery is 50% of the process to retain clients. From that point, it's all about 50%, which is client experience. Under program delivery, you've got goal setting, progress tracking, program evolution, clear communication, milestone rewards, accountability systems, community groups, behavior change coaching, flexible formats, and educational content. When it comes to client experience, we have got clean onboarding, celebrating success, fast problem resolution, surprises and events, live events, catch-up calls, tech optimization, client-centered content, and making sure that you actually humanize your brand and yourself, guys. So hope that you enjoyed this video. Hope it gives you a lot more guidance and tips on how to actually build a community and culture, and also retain clients for much longer, get better results, get better referrals. If you like this video, drop it a like. If you're not subscribing, please subscribe. I'd love to hit 1,000 soon. If not, I will see you on the next video, guys.